Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye Nashtiprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, the cosmic manifestation. First chapter, the first step in God realization, text number 5 onwards. So Shukdev Goswami is further speaking to Maharaj Parikshit. Tasmad Bharat Sarvatma Bhagwan Ishvaro Harihi Shrotavyah Kirtitavyah Smartavyah Chita Abhyam. So in the previous verse, he said that persons devoid of Atma Tattva do not inquire about the problems of life, being too attached to the fallible soldiers like the body, children, and wife. Although sufficiently experienced, they still do not see the inevitable destruction. And now he says, O descendant of King Bharat, one who desires to be free from all miseries must hear about, glorify, and also remember the personality of Godhead, who is the super soul, the controller, and the savior from all miseries. So Shrotavya Kirtitavya cha Ichita Abhyam. Smartavya cha Ichita Abhyam. In Shrotavya, hear, Kirtitavya cha glorify, and remember the personality of Godhead. So this is the only way to be free from all miseries of life. See, when Parikshit Maharaj was sitting at the bank of Ganges, and all the sages were there, not just the sages like Narad Muni, Vyasadeva, Parshuram, Bharadwaj, Vasisht Muni, Vishwamitra, everybody was there. And not just they themselves, their disciples were also with them. So they weren't go alone. The disciples were with them. And everybody would bring about 5,000-10,000 disciples. So when Parikshit Maharaj asked them this question, so there was no conclusive proof from all of them. Somebody must be saying, "Oh, yoga is the best thing to do." Somebody must have said, "Do some yagya." Somebody must have said, "Do some charity," and something else, something else. That is why when Shukdev Goswami appeared on the scene, and his reputation, Shukdev Goswami's reputation was of a great devotee. He was not a yogi. He was not anything else. He was not a Rajarishi, Brahmarishi, or anybody. He was a great devotee, and this was his reputation. And that's why when he appeared on the scene, everybody agreed that he on the comes. So when he is speaking, and right off, like first 3-4 verses, he talked about what people do, people in this Kali Yuga are doing, but what they should do is he's saying right here, like that was Maharaj Parikshit's question. What should a person who's about to die do? And this was Shukdev Goswami saying. One who desires to be free from all miseries means there is no other way. Yoga is not the way, charity is not the way, austerity is not the way. To be free from all miseries, one must hear about, glorify, and also remember the personality of God, and who is the super soul, the controller and the savior from all miseries. All miseries. So this is like conclusion. Of course, the whole Bhagavatam from now onwards, next 11 cantos, he'll just glorify Krishna and gives us a chance to remember different pastimes or different incarnations of Krishna. That's all it's going to happen. So this is the conclusion. This is a conclusive proof of all the scriptures. This is the essence of scriptures actually. In the previous verse, Sri Shukdev Goswami has described how the foolish, materially attached men are wasting their valuable time in the improvement of the material conditions of life by sleeping, indulging in sex life, developing economic conditions, and maintaining a band of relatives who are to be vanquished in the air of oblivion. Being engaged in all these materialistic activities, the living soul entangles himself in the cycle of the law of fruitive actions. This entails the chain of birth and death in the 8,400,000 species of life. The aquatics, the vegetables, the reptiles, the birds, the beasts, the uncivilized man, and then again the human form, which is a chance for getting out of the cycle of fruitive action. Therefore, if one desires freedom from this vicious circle, then one must cease to act as a karmi or enjoying of the results of one's own work, good or bad. So one must cease to act as a karmi or enjoyer of the results of one's own work, good or bad. Enjoying the results of bad work is suffering. Just like if we have read this quotation many times, um, pain or not the pain, the loss is inevitable. Means any bad reaction we have to go through, we have to. But suffering is optional. That is up to us if we suffer or not. To go through bad times, it's inevitable. That is going to happen with everybody. But the suffering is optional. But the person who is so much engaged in um, trying to gather materially everything, not even worried about spiritual life, he definitely enjoys the results of bad work. Means he suffers for those reactions. But a yogi, especially a devotee, he doesn't suffer. Okay, something bad happened. It's all mercy of Krishna. One should not do anything, either good or bad, on his own account, but must execute everything on the behalf of the Supreme Lord, the ultimate proprietor of everything that he is, that be. This process of doing work is recommended in the Bhagavad Gita 9:27. Also, where instruction is given for working on the Lord's account. Therefore, one should first of all hear about the Lord. Then, when one has perfectly and scrutinizingly heard, one must glorify his acts and deeds. And thus it will become possible to remember constantly the transcendental nature of the Lord. So, best way to and then be hearing about and glorifying the Lord are identical with the transcendental nature of the Lord, and by so doing, one will always be in association of the Lord. This brings freedom from all sorts of fear. The Lord is the super soul, Paramatma, present in the hearts of all living beings, and thus by the above hearing and glorifying process, the Lord invites the association of all in His creation. This process of hearing about and glorifying the Lord is applicable for everyone, whoever he may be, and it will lead one to the ultimate success in everything in which one may be engaged by providence. So ultimate success depends on Krishna, obviously, and on our attitude. So in everything in which one may be engaged by providence, if you want success, the basis should be hearing and glorifying Krishna. In fact, this book distribution that's going on these days in ISKCON all over the world, Prabhupada said this book distribution is hearing and chanting. It contains both. So they are real, especially when we are really into it and when we go out and distribute, we really get lots of mercy of Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada. So automatically our hearing and chanting goes on. There are many classes of human beings: the fruity workers, the empiric philosophers, the mystic yogis, and ultimately the unalloyed devotees. For all of them, one and the same process is applicable for achieving the desired success. Everyone wants to be free from all kinds of fear, and everyone wants the fullest extent of happiness in life. I mean, the whole goal of life, aim of life for everybody, whether devotee or non-devotee, is to achieve happiness. That's all. Of course, people who are in lower consciousness, their status, their standard of happiness is different than from people who are spiritually evolved. But the happiness is ultimate goal. The perfect process for achieving this here and now is recommended in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is uttered by such a great authority as Srila Shukdev Goswami. By hearing about and glorifying the Lord, all a person's activities become molded into spiritual activities, and thus all conceptions of material miseries become completely vanquished. So by engaging oneself, constantly hearing and glorifying Krishna, and another way of hearing and glorifying Krishna is by chanting His holy name. So this chanting process, it can be done at any time of the day. There's no restriction of time, day, place, whatever. There's no restriction. Anytime, anywhere we can chant. With or without beats, doesn't matter. The chanting we can be done. So if we are engaged in that, then obviously we're hearing and glorifying Krishna. And when we are chanting, we are also trying to remember Krishna's names. So that contains everything. So this is what Shukdev Goswami is recommending. Text 6. Etavan Sankhya Yoga Bhyam Swadharma Parinishthaya Janmalava Parapunsam Ante Narayana Smriti. The highest perfection of human life, achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit, by practice of mystic powers, or by perfect discharge of occupational duty, is to remember the personality of Godhead at the end of life. So that is the real art of living. If it makes us remember Krishna at the end of life. This is what Krishna also says in 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Yam yam vaki smaran bhavam tyajati ante kalevra. Tam tam evati konteya sada tad bhavavita. Whatever state of being one is in at the time of death, that state he attains in the next life without fail. So whatever we are thinking or whatever we are remembering at the time of death, or maybe not just the passing thought, but the consciousness. So again, here also it says, Ante Narayan Smriti. That's the perfection life if we remember Krishna at the end of life. And what we remember at the end of life is what we have thought of or what we have practiced throughout our life. That's all we will remember. Narayan is the transcendental personality of God and beyond the material creation. Everything that is created, sustained, at the end annihilated is within the compass of the Mahatattva, material principle, and is known as the material world. The existence of Narayan or the personality of Godhead is not within the jurisdiction of this Mahatattva. And as such, the name, form, attributes, etc. of Narayan are beyond the jurisdiction of the material world. By the speculation of empiric philosophy, which discerns matter from spirit, or by cultivation of mystic powers, which ultimately helps a performer to reach any planet of the universe or beyond the universe, or by discharge of religious duties, one can achieve the highest perfection. provided one is able to reach the stage of Narayan Smriti, or constant remembrance of the personality of God. Means here, Prabhupada is writing, by the speculation of empiric philosophy means Jnana Yoga, which discerns matter from spirit, okay, or by cultivation of mystic powers, which is Hatha Yoga, which ultimately helps a performer to reach any planet, or by discharge of religious duties, means Karma Yoga. Of all, in all the processes, one can achieve perfection through all the processes if one can remember Krishna. Ante Narayana Smriti. If it is not, then it's a useless wastage of time, actually. This is possible only by the association of a pure devotee who can give a finishing touch to the transcendental activities of all jnanis, yogis, or karmis in terms of the prescribed duties defined in the scriptures. There are many historical instances of the achievement of spiritual perfection, such as that of the Shanakadi Rishi or the 9 celebrated Yogendras, who attained perfection only after being situated in the devotion service of the Lord. So the perfection comes from devotion service, actually. All these other yogis, Karma Yogi, Jnana Yogi, Hatha Yogi, they have to come to the level of devotion service to achieve perfection. Devotional service means in the sense not just by yoga practice, or Hatha Yoga or any Jnana Yoga one can achieve, or the spiritual one. Ultimately, one providing devotion with serving him with love and affection. And your Prabhupada is writing, none of the devotees of the Lord ever deviated from the path of devotion service by taking to other methods as adopted by the Jnanis or Yogis. Means the devotees, they don't go here or there. But the Jnanis or Yogis, ultimately when they become devotees, they achieve the highest perfection. Everyone is anxious to achieve the highest perfection of his particular activity. And it is indicated herein that such perfection is Narayan Smriti, for which everyone must endeavor his best. In other words, life should be molded in such a manner that one is able to progressively remember the personality of Godhead in every step of life. So that's how we have to mold our lives, make our lives, live our lives, that we can remember Krishna at every step of our life. That is why in older days people used to name their child after the name of God, Krishna, Radha, or whatever. So at least even by chanting, unknowingly chanting Krishna's name, you're still calling out Krishna. So that can help, or that would help somebody to remember Krishna at the end of life. Text 7. Prayana munyo rajan nivrita vidishedata nirgunyas tatha ramante sma gunanu katne hare. O King Parikshit, mainly the topmost transcendentalists who are above the regulative principles and restrictions, take pleasure in describing the glories of the Lord. In fact, the similar words came in 7th chapter of Bhagavatam, first canto. Atma Rama Chamanyo Nirgrantha Pirukrame Kurvantim Ahat Mitham Bhutgunohari. There it is, the Sut Goswami said that every sage, every person actually is ultimately trying to serve Krishna or remember Krishna. Atma Ramashtra Munyo, Atma Rama. Even the munis who are Atma Rama, they're self-satisfied, but they still try to serve Krishna. This is a like synthesis of every activity. The topmost transcendentalist is a liberated soul and is therefore not within the purview of the regulative principles. Means, it means like Shukdev Goswami himself, he's the topmost transcendentalist. But if you look at him, look at his picture, read about description, he doesn't even wear clothes. He didn't even undergo initiation ceremony that we all have to go through to purify. But since he was perfect from the childhood, from the time he was born, he didn't have to undergo any of those processes. And this is Prabhupada writing. A topmost transcendentalist is a liberated soul and is therefore not within the purview of the regulative principles. A neophyte who is intended to be promoted to the spiritual plane is guided by the spiritual master under regulative principles. He may be compared to a patient who is treated by various restrictions under medical jurisdiction. Generally, liberated souls also take pleasure in describing the transcendental activities. As mentioned above, since Narayan, Hari, the personality of Godhead, is beyond the material creation, his form and attributes are not material. The topmost transcendentalist of the liberated souls realize him by advanced experience of transcendental knowledge, and therefore they take pleasure in discussion of the transcendental activities of the Lord's pastimes. So this is the essence of everything that a person can do. Topmost transcendentalists realize him by advanced experience of transcendental knowledge. And they also take pleasure in discussion of the transcendental qualities of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita 4.9, personality of Godhead declares that his appearance and activities are all divyam or transcendental. The common man who is under the spell of material energy takes it for granted that the Lord is like one of us, and therefore he refuses to accept the transcendental nature of the Lord's form, name, etc. The topmost transcendentalist is not interested in anything material, and his taking interest in the matter of the Lord's activities is definite proof that the Lord is not like one of us in the material world. In the Vedic literature also it is confirmed that Supreme Lord is one, but that he is engaged in the transcendental pastimes in the company of his unalloyed devotees, and that simultaneously he is present as a super soul, an expansion of Baladev in the heart of all living entities. So therefore the highest transcendental activity is to take pleasure in hearing and describing the transcendental qualities of the Lord, and not in merging into his impersonal Brahman feature, for which the impersonalist monist aspires. So when somebody is engaged in glorifying Krishna, glorifying his name, form, pastimes, and his attributes, his activities, that really brings satisfaction to the heart, to the soul. Not just satisfaction, it brings happiness. And this is the real happiness that a person is looking for. He thinks I can be happy by becoming a great yogi or jnani, but the real happiness is not there. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna again and again spoke on this. Like for jnanis, he says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanvan Mam Prapadyate. After many, many lifetimes, a person who really got the knowledge, he surrenders unto me. And surrendering unto him what? Surrendering unto him means when Krishna says, Man manabha madbhakta madhyagi mam namaskuru, then do that. That is surrender. Surrender means to do activities that Krishna wants us to do. And to do those activities with love and devotion, that is Bhakti Yoga. Okay, but there are also others who are not the topmost transcendentalists, but are in a lower status and who do not take pleasure in describing the transcendental activities of the Lord. Rather, they discuss such activities of the Lord formally with the aim of merging into His existence. But this is not the real purpose of describing Krishna's pastimes and other features of Krishna. So the real happiness, according to Shukdev Goswami, and now for to prove that, he will, and Maharaj Parikshit and all the sages sitting there, they'll sit down at one place, 7 days, 7 nights, and continuous Krishna Katha, continuous reading of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Shukdev Goswami is such a high level person that all the big sages, they chose him to be the speaker, and that speaker will sit down glorifying Krishna for 7 days and 7 nights. So this proves this is the topmost perfection of life. This is the topmost method one should adopt. So anyway, we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Actually, I had a question. This is not my question, but somebody asked me, and I thought you would better explain. I mean, the person had this query that why is Krishna called of Godhead and not anyone else?
This we read in that first canto, third chapter, no? Where Sud Goswami described all the different incarnations of Krishna. And then later he said that all these are ete chanchkala punsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. All these are expansions or expansions of expansions of Krishna. But Krishna's tu means but Krishna is Bhagwan Swayam. He is Swayam Bhagwan. Nobody else is. Even Narayan features are his expansions. All the Vishnu Tattvas are expansions of Krishna, but they exhibit different attributes. But Krishna only exhibits all the attributes in full. Especially, we say that Krishna has 64 qualities. Even Narayan has 60 qualities. Only Krishna has 4 extra, which nobody else has. So that's what sets Krishna apart from even all the Vishnu Tattva features also. That's why he's called Supreme Personality of Godhead. Is that okay? Yes, Archana Mata, you had a question or comment or something? You have a question or a comment?
Yeah, Prabhuji, I just wanted to know the Gyanis, when you said Gyani and Yogi and Karmis are not comes in the category of devotee. So my understanding is that Gyani has a Gyan for Krishna only. And Yogi is also for Bhakti for Krishna.
Not necessarily.
Acha, okay.
Gyanis can get into studying Vedas from different angles. Of course, we are also trying to study Srimad Bhagavatam, but this is devotional service. Devotional service is 9 processes, right? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, right? Hearing, chanting. So for us, study of Bhagavatam is hearing. We are hearing to hear. Gyanis, they try to find out different meanings of the same shloka, not from bhakti angle, from just grammatical point of view or some other point of view. So then they stay away from hearing part. They don't. That doesn't come in devotional service. That comes as activity of gyan. Okay. Similarly, yogis, they try to meditate on Paramatma in the heart, but not out of a feeling of a service or pleasing Paramatma. they want to meditate because this gives them the sense of oneness with Paramatma, and of course they stay away from the material miseries of life. So it gives lots of satisfaction and happiness actually, but it's not the ultimate.
What is
Devotee also tries to remember Krishna.
Sorry, Prabhuji.
Huh?
Bhav is missing with.
Bhav stage comes much later, but the mood is missing. Yes.
Sure. Okay.
Mood to please Krishna is missing.
Oh. Okay.
So should we stop here, or somebody else has a question or comment?
Thank you.
Okay.
Hare
Thank you all
Krishna,
very
Prabhuji.
much. Yes, ma'am.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Today is Hemant Prabhu's birthday, so he's there in the group. We can wish him, Prabhuji, wishing you happy Krishna conscious.
Oh, Haribol. Happy birthday, Prabhuji.
Happy birthday, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Hemant Prabhu.
I think